Hello and welcome to The Box on Screen. My name is Stacey Anderson. I'm the media archivist here at The Box, and I have the joy and the privilege to care for the film and photographic collections. Now, I'm joined today by my friend and colleague, Louisa.
Thank you, Stacey. I'm Louisa Blight, and I have the privilege also of being the collections manager here at The Box, Plymouth. We are in a cosy corner of The Box in the basement, but what is The Box, I hear you say? The Box is a brand new cultural institution for Plymouth and the South West, encompassing museum, gallery and archive. And as collections manager, I'm responsible for the over 2 million items that we have in our care here. Everything from natural history to fine and decorative arts, world cultures and much, much more. If you haven't already come, why haven't you? Please do come and see us as soon as you can. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. But today, we have a very special offer for you. A view into our fabulous moving image collection.
Indeed, we do, and it is truly a fabulous collection. I might be slightly biased when I say that, but I promise you there is something for everyone in the moving image collections. It comprises of over 250,000 films and tapes, and if you were to piece together all of that footage, it would run for approximately 10,000 hours. So you'd need a lot of time on your hands, I think, if you wanted to sit down and view everything. But there might be some clips that people watching might remember from the days of Westwood Television, TSW, or perhaps you might have been one of the lucky ones to have your birthday bunny hops delivered by our fabulous Gus Honeybun here. There really is something for everyone. And today we will be looking at the theme of
fashion. The first clip is going to take us back 50 years to a period when fashion was really pushing the boundaries. We're going to take you across the region from Truro to Exmouth, and we're going to show you some things you may expect and some things a bit more controversial, like fur coats, for instance. 1960s was well known as the invention of the miniskirt, but did you actually know there's archaeological evidence that there were miniskirts 4,000 years ago? Perhaps less surprising is that people wore furs that long ago, and there are some on display here at the Box. Anyway, without further ado, let's have a look at what was on offer for the female dedicated follower of fashion.
What do you think of dresses like that?
Oh, bloody handsome, aren't I, mate? Seriously, oh? Would you let your wife wear them like that? God. Bit daring, aren't they?
Well, I think they're absolutely disgusting. I really do. I don't think that it's right for people to go around. It makes we older people ashamed to be women at the times, and that's telling you the truth.
Well, if you can wear them and get away with them, I say do it. I think they're nice. I mean, the trouble is down around this way, the girls haven't got enough nerve.
I think you've got a lot of nerve to wear them in the street like that. They're very nice. They look very nice.
Well, Trix, it's a bit blowy here, and it looks as though it may be coming on to rain, but you have had a look around the West Country now, and what you said to me in the car was a bit of a bombshell. What do you think about English fashions?
I think they are absolutely tasteless.
Why do you think they're tasteless?
In my opinion, English women don't care about dressing at all.
But what is it in particular you don't like about the way they dress?
I mean, I have many times noticed that to different occasions they don't take the right things.
How does this, in terms of colour or line or what?
Yes, I mean, colors, you know, they mix too much colors together and have no line at all, and they are too much overdressed.
Fraulein Strasser, what is it that particularly offends you in the West Country about our West Country women's sense of dress?
Well, if you watch the people, they go into the streets with anoraks, trousers, and coats, they look like potato sets. It disturbs me. I mean, and even if you watch in the shops, you see such funny hats with terrible bright colors. You wouldn't see them on the continent.
Well, Fraulein Strasser, I think you've put your case very strongly, but may I ask you one final question? What about the men? Do you think that the Englishmen are also badly dressed?
Oh, no, I think they have absolutely elegance. It doesn't matter whether they are going to work on a bus or in a cinema, wherever they go, they have always a certain amount from elegance. And in my opinion, Englishmen are the best dressed men in the world.
I have to say, I think all the women look absolutely fabulous. But Stacey, what do you think? Are British men really the best dressed in the world?
My goodness me, I mean, she was certainly, you know, entitled to her opinion, and she gave it very confidently. But yeah, I have to say, I find myself challenging the notion that men back then, in the mid-1960s, did they have the best fashion? I'm not entirely sure, particularly when we explore some other materials that we have found within our collections that look at some of these slightly more unconventional fashion options for the male of the species. Shall we take a look?
Let's take a look.
Have you seen the new hair fashions for men? Well, just in case you haven't, it looks something like this gentleman. Well, I've come out here to find out why it's so popular. Would you tell me why you like wearing long hair?
Well, actually, I'm in this in the group, local Plymouth R&B group. So I feel it goes with the music, you know.
Will they charge you now if you're going with your hair that length?
I don't know. I haven't been in for a year.
Well, it's nice and warm in winter, and it prevents you having to have too many haircuts.
Well, I think you must be a layabout to keep yourself in that state, the way they go around. They're maniacs. You don't know men from women.
Well, I think they're just reverting to an ancient custom, really, but personally I think they want to do it. It's the only way of getting notoriety, and that's the one way of doing it.
Do you get any of them come to your shop?
Yes, I do. But if they're too long, I don't do them. I just send them out.
Well, why don't you cut them?
Well, because I haven't got the time.
Personally, I don't know what all the fuss is about. There's only one place for hair, isn't there? Pardon me.
Now, sir, would you like to wear a Cornish kilt similar to the one I'm wearing at the moment?
Yeah, I think I'd very much like to. I think it looks far superior, and these fat ladies wearing the slacks that you see around the seaside places.
Madam, what do you think about this Cornish kilt? Would you like to see men wearing it in Cornwall?
Well, no, I don't think so, really. I think I'd rather see the gentleman's suit as before.
Well, it might suit some very well, sir, but I should think it was rather drafty. Might be all right in summertime.
Well, I think it's really smart, and I'd like to see men wearing something different from the usual drab grey flannels and blazers and whatnot.
I've never seen a kilt on a gentleman in Launceston in my life, and I've been here for 70 years.
You don't think it's a good idea?
Well, no, I should think it's ridiculous.
Now, most of you have been standing here for quite a little while watching me, talking to people and asking them about the Cornish kilt, and I think some of you have had quite an amusing time out of it. What do you really think about the kilt? Is it a good idea or not?
No!
Not a good idea?
No!
What do you think about hot pants for men?
Well, you look rather glamorous in them, but no, I don't think they look very nice.
Would you like to see your husband wearing them?
No.
What do you think of hot pants?
I don't think I'd like to see my husband wearing them.
Why not?
Well, I think his legs are too hairy.
Okay, so Louisa, let's recap on what we've just seen. If you just take what we've just seen, the compilation, you'd be forgiven for thinking that the 1960s, 1970s man about town had lovely long flowing hair and would regularly pop down the shops for a pint of milk wearing his kilt. Or perhaps, if it was windy, he'd pop on his hot pants. I mean, seriously, was hot pants even a thing?
I can't possibly imagine.
I do not recall my dad ever mentioning, maybe he didn't want to admit to that, but I do not recall him mentioning that he used to wear hot pants. And of course, you know, we are looking at our Westwood television collection through those clips. And it was very much a time when, you know, vox pops and investigative journalism was really taking off. So it's not surprising to see those fun little extracts coming through that collection. But there were some really interesting comments for me from those people that they interviewed on the streets. And, you know, just the bias and that generational change between the 1950s and the more free and relaxed way of being in the 1960s. And for some, you know, the young people who used to walk around with long hair and mini skirts and hot pants, you know, they were regarded as layabouts. We heard the gentleman in that clip call them layabouts. And yet, for others, having long hair was simply a way of saving money. They didn't have to go and get their hair cut. So it was really interesting just to see some of the comments coming through there for me. And I have to say, bonus points to Del Cooper, our presenter in that final clip. I mean, talk about being committed.
Brave.
To the job. Very brave. It's a strong look, you know, shirt, tie, jacket and hot pants with his walking stick as well. It's such a great clip, that one, and it is undoubtedly one of our most popular clips that we have in the collection. We've actually got it on show here in the Media Lab gallery on our big screen, and whenever it's shown, we know that it never fails to raise a chuckle or two. It's just one of my favourite pieces, I think. Listen, Louisa, I cannot go any further without pointing out your absolutely stunning shoes.
Thank you very much.
That you're wearing today. I've got definite shoe envy over here. I just had to say that.
That's very kind of you to say. I definitely have more shoes than is truly necessary, and I have once or twice been known to design my outfit from the bottom up. Very good. But being a massive fan of shoes, if I may, I thought any foray into a reflection on fashion history, we should really look into the soul of fashion.
Oh, very
please.
Good.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed that one. So today we're going to look at shoes, boots, footwear, and also look a bit into the manufacture of the same. So the high street brand Clarks, we have a lovely piece of footage from 1966. But the first part of the compilation you're going to see in a moment had a real resonance for me. In my family, there's a real anecdote, which is on my parents' wedding day. My mum made my dad wear platform soles. Because he would have been shorter than her on her wedding day, and that would have been a disaster. But obviously he couldn't just wear the platform soles. All of the bridal party had to wear them too. And unfortunately, her brother was already 6'3". So with platform soles in all the wedding photos, he's an absolute giant. But it's absolutely brilliant, and they really are kind of iconic of that particular era. But without further ado, I really would like us to step back into the past and see some fabulous footwear.
No woman can really be well dressed who isn't wearing a fashionable, smart, well-made pair of shoes. And what the With It woman wears on her feet this autumn could well depend on the result of this trade show being given in the display room of one of the largest shoe manufacturers in Europe before an audience of prospective buyers. Not including myself, of course. I'm here talking to Mr. Will Freer, one of the directors of the firm, and to learn from him the intricate and involved processes that go into the design of a single pair of shoes. Starting at the beginning, Mr. Freer said, "The first thing that happens is the last." I think you'd better let him explain from there.
We're in a fashion industry, and fashion is evolving. It isn't a revolution, it evolves, and we have to be trying to be 6 months ahead of consumer demand. And to do this, we have to go to the fashion centers and to sense what is coming. These men here bring back the ideas, the shapes that they see, and they create these last models on which the shoes will be made. We, as time goes by, say that these last are right, or that they need modifying, that the toe is too pointed, too round, whatever it may be, so that at the point at which we want to sell shoes, we have the last which we feel reflects the current fashion trend.
Well, I find them very comfortable. They're smart when you're wearing them. And since I got them, I won't get anything else.
Now, some chiropodists and doctors have said that they can be harmful. Do they give you any problem walking at all?
No, I don't have any problem at all. But I find it, I can walk better in these than, ordinary flat shoes.
What made you want to buy them in the first place?
Well, they look attractive and, they're very smart, I think.
Do you like yours?
Yeah, they help me because I'm short.
They help you?
Because I'm short. I find they're comfortable to wear, except sometimes I'm inclined to topple over. Well, I like them. They give me extra height.
Is that your main reason for buying them?
Yes, and also because they're in fashion.
Because they're in fashion?
Yes.
A lot of doctors and chiropodists are now sort of hitting out at them and saying that they can cause problems. Does this worry you?
Not very much, because they won't be in fashion that long, I don't think.
It's okay, I'm not fussed. Girlfriend makes them. That's the main thing.
Some doctors and chiropodists think that they're not very good for your feet. Does this worry you?
No, not so much. Nothing whatsoever.
Supposing it was going to give you foot defects later on in your life, would it make you perhaps think twice about buying them?
Yes.
No, I don't think so. Because they're nice to wear and they look nice.
Well, if you ask me, they're caring too much about what everybody's doing. If you wear what you want to wear, it's up to you. It's only you it's going to hurt.
Well, I don't know if they like them, I'll wear them. There you are, that's the thing, isn't it?
Do you not think perhaps we should try and discourage them from wearing them? Is it going to harm them?
No, if they want to wear them, well, let them.
They enjoy them, I suppose, that's the main thing.
They're very nice, except that, if you trip in them more than any other shoes, I think. They, I don't know, they just feel, completely different to any other shoe. Just sort of tip up, and that's it.
I think perhaps you could rick an ankle with them.
Yes, definitely.
Doesn't that discourage you from wearing them?
Not really, it's a fashion. What can you buy? Unless it's all fashion.
Why do you think women wear boots?
I've got no idea. I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
You don't like it?
No, I think it looks dreadful. I like to see the legs.
Oh, because I like them. Aren't they? They're different, so why not have some fun?
Have some fun. I think they're a form of sexual aggression.
Oh, do you? Well, I disagree, I'm afraid. I don't see anything in that. Why should they be sexual aggression?
Because I like them. They're wonderfully comfortable too.
Just comfort?
Just comfort.
Isn't it?
And I think they look smart. I mean, they're wonderful in the winter.
Isn't it a form of masculine aggression?
I don't think so. I think they look terribly feminine. It all depends who wears them, that's the thing.
Anything to do with sex?
Yes, I think it was. It's some sort of sexual antagonism, perhaps. You know, it makes men very angry, and I suppose they look twice in a way.
Well, both. Glamorous and aggressive. And that's what women are up to, is it?
Well, I think so. I mean, look at Kathy Gale on The Avengers. I mean, who could look more aggressive and glamorous than she does?
Well, I think they're ridiculous. I don't know why they do it. It may be just to warm their legs, keep their legs warm. But to me, they look simply ridiculous.
The 1960s really was the decade when the knee-high boot started to kick off. Yves Saint Laurent in 1963 included knee-high boots in his collection, and from there on it was a sort of fashion statement. In the 1960s, designers and manufacturers were exploring synthetic materials, so more and more people began to wear them in more and more out there kind of ways. You know, we think about ABBA and the kind of over the knee numbers. Madonna, she sported some really interesting looks in the 80s. One of my personal favourites, Shania Twain, in the 90s, of course. I mean, frankly, they've never really been out of fashion since. But they do have a bit of a risque connotation as well. You know, some people refer to them kinky boots, sexy boots, and that actually goes back to the fact that in the 19th century, prostitutes used to wear them, but they were used to be men's clothing at that time, and in fact, men have worn them for nearly 600 years. And whilst I suppose fashion may have played a part, in the main, it was down to practicality. And I have to say, from my point of view, wearing of the knee-high boot, and I may say I do have several pairs, obviously, it's actually about keeping my legs warm. I can see that you do like a boot as well yourself.
Certainly do, Louisa, and indeed I share your obsession with footwear. I have quite a vast collection myself at home, which I'm very proud of. But you know, it was absolutely lovely seeing those clips, really fantastic. And I think, you know, one of the many things that I love about our moving image collections is that power, that extraordinary power that they have to take us right back to meet the people and the places that might not exist anymore, but that are very much within living memory, and that's a real value that comes through that TV collection in particular. So we saw the Clark's shoe factory there. I have fond memories of Clark's myself. I mean, what child of our generation was not carted off to the Clark's shoe shop to choose a sensible pair of shoes?
Indeed,
for
and my
school?
children still are, may I say.
Good to see that traditions are continuing. My children aren't so much, but hey-ho. But I'd like to turn our attentions now to another iconic fashion house of the 1970s period. So this time we will be looking at the Burkatex Textiles factory in 1970. And I was blown away by the amount of people who worked behind the scenes of that factory.
Many of them women, as I recall.
Many of them women, yeah, but there were a few men as well, foremen who used to manage the factory floor, as we will see when we watch our next clip.
Look forward to it.
What we do is a designer actually, as I said, makes the original model, and then we get it in the factory, and we have a specification, rather like an engineering specification, which specifies the type of fabric, the amount of fabric that will be used in it, the amount of trimmings and linings that will be used in it. In fact, it shows how the thing should be sewn, the method used to sew it, and the lengths of the garments, the tolerances that are allowed. In other words, we work as far as possible to a standard, and it's by having this specification, which is issued to all sections of the factory, that you achieve this standard by ensuring that they check against this at all stages in manufacture. We have 10 checkpoints in the manufacture of a dress, and at each point they check very carefully that the garment is coming up to the standard laid down on the specification. And in this way we try and ensure that the garments are as near as possible perfect. When we do the specification, we then know exactly how much fabric it's going to take. We know exactly the buttons that are going to be used, the cottons and so on. This is measured down to the last yard and the last button, so that when we do our costing on the dress, we know that we're giving as much value for money as is possible.
So, Louisa, in that clip, we met the manager of the Burkatex textiles factory, sporting a rather impressive moustache, I have to say.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty sure my father had a moustache like that in photos. But it was really fascinating for me just to see the entire process, the manufacturing process that existed behind the scenes. So we saw right from the design activity to the selection of some rather interesting materials. I'm glad it was shot in black and white, because you can just imagine the vibrancy of the colours that they were using there, right through to the factory floor. So many people involved in that process, and I didn't realise this until I was researching for this session, but the factory actually employed over 1,000 people, dressmakers and tailors, who were obviously very skilled in the work that they were doing. But sadly, the factory closed its doors in 1985. It had been one of the largest employers in the city, but it had to close its doors because it faced stiff competition from abroad, where the clothes and the materials became far cheaper to import from abroad. So unfortunately, Burkatex wasn't the only industry that suffered as a result of that. But having said that, I think fashion itself as a concept, it's been a constant right back to the present day. And I don't consider myself to be that fashion conscious, but watching these clips has really made me question what my attitude is towards fashions. And I think that's what I found particularly interesting about that last clip, where we saw women being asked the question, do you dress for yourself or do you dress to please other people? And I just think that's a really interesting question that I hadn't really thought of before. And I think what's been really interesting about the clips we've seen, very much from the 1960s, 70s period, but just the diversity of different fashions that existed within such a short space of time, and equal to that, also a great diversity of opinions and comments and perspectives as well. That's been really fascinating to watch.
Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of today's selection on fashion. We really hope you've enjoyed watching, but if you do want to see more, then please do subscribe to our YouTube channels or follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.
Or why not become a member of The Box and enjoy exclusive content and offers? And you can find out all about membership by looking at our website. And in addition to those social media channels that Louisa has mentioned, you might want to take a look at more hours of wonderful moving image film from our collections, which is available on the BFI player.
Once again, thank you so much for watching, and we hope you can join us again soon on another Box on Screen.